Hello everyone. In this video tutorial, we'll be exploring the IOEvent Error tracking and handling features. To start, let's take a look at this workflow. Here we have a bill payment use case and we have designed and implemented using IOEvent framework. In a typical scenario, we can use credit card. When the transaction is completed successfully, we receive a receipt and everything is done. However, in some cases, credit card transactions may fail and we may encounter critical errors. So here in our example, we have added the runtime exception that we have created. It is called credit card transaction failure. This exception will raise when the amount argument is less than 10. At the start of the application, an instance will be created with an amount equal to 3, and this obviously will raise an error. As predictable, we will be having a failed instance at the starting of this application. However, IOEvent framework helps developers to troubleshoot and handle errors and analyze stack trace and get details about the issue raised. Now to see this in action, let's start the instance. Here, our instance has been created, but an error has occurred without being handled, and leave the workflow with an unhandled error at the Pay with Credit Card task. We can troubleshoot and view more details about the error. We can get the code error stack trace and even copy it for more detailed debugging. When we get an error, we can't continue the workflow because this will impact the performance and we may get even more exceptions. In such situations, we can end the workflow with an error and event. Now let's switch to the code and see the implementation using IOEvent framework. We will be adding exception and using the exception event annotation. We add the runtime exception. We want to end the workflow when it is encountered. And finally, we add the end event annotation with the failure event. Let's restart the instance and see the new results. In Cockpit, here we have the new diagram, the workflow components, as well as our failed instance that we have created. We still can see the error that has occurred and view the stack trace. And as we can see, the message is unable to complete the transaction for this amount, which is basically the exception message that we have raised in the code. When we have an exception, we can fix it, and this is what we will discover in this part of the video. So when the exception has occurred, we send a transaction failed event to the error handler, which is the task that will fix the issue. And in our case, it is the pay with cash task. Now, as the error is handled, we send the transaction completed event, and we get back to the normal workflow of the application. To implement this using IOEvent framework, we will be using the output event annotation instead, so that our application will send the transaction failed event when the exception is raised. Then we add the error handler method that will catch the exception event and send back a transaction completed event when the error is fixed. Now let's restart our instance. In the cockpit here, we can see the new workflow diagram with the error boundary event. And finally, our instance has reached the end successfully and its state is finished. Now, despite the fact that an error has occurred, the application has handled this issue and finished it without a failure. And this thanks to the error handling feature that we have implemented and the error handler that have helped us to overcome this issue. Thank you for watching this video and see you on the next tutorials.